Okay, I'm figuring out the technology, but I am here. I am here. Okay, making sure I'm showing up. I don't know what's the deal. Am I showing up? Am I live? It says my live video has ended. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, well, it's being restreamed other places, so let's hope we just all show up. I will mess this up so many times. So, you know, I might just borrow this from Nick and repost it later on. Today, I wanted to sit down. I guess, okay, let me start at the beginning. My name is Ellie. If this is your first time watching this, I am I mean, for lack of a better word, I'm a blogger. I am a writer, and I've been kind of enveloped into this world of talking about the Epstein files and survivor justice and how to investigate properly so that survivors actually get justice. And part of that was this idea of reading the files out loud so that people not only knew about them, but they could actually see and hear them. And not every file is for every person to see and hear. They can be very triggering. Obviously, my publishing's ended. Okay, whatever. Cancel. I don't know what's going on, guys. Okay, I'm clicking out of everything. We're gonna try this over. Anyway, so be that as it may, at the Epstein Trump reading room, which was in Tribeca in New York during the month of May, all sorts of people came forward, people from all walks of life. So we had journalists, we had survivors, we had legal people, we had, you know, major journalists like Katie Fang came forward. Like for 24 hours, people read these files out loud on camera so that society could hear them, and many people for the first time. And so when that ended, I talked with a few people and I said, I'm just going to keep doing this. I want to know what's in these files, but I also want to share it. I want it to be more accessible for the public. I want us to understand the depth of some of the things that we're talking about that have been covered up, and remind people that nobody on our end has seen these for a very long time, and yet the DOJ has had them the whole time. So today, up in the corner, wherever I point, you'll see a little QR code. And on that QR code it looks like a butterfly. This links you back to the website called SOAR. And SOAR stands for Speak Out, Act, and Reclaim. This is a foundation that was started by Virginia Giuffre in 2015. It is obviously being continued on. As of yet, it doesn't appear that there is a donation link on this website, but I just want people to have access to it, to be able to go see it, to use the resources that are available to you. And then eventually there will be some kind of a donation button that will be on that website as well. But I just thought I would put that up there so we have access to it today so people know about SOAR. SOAR provides a safe and empowering space for survivors of sex trafficking. So even if they don't have a donation link set up at this point, they have resources if you need them or if you want to share them. So I think that was really important, and I wanted to have that up there for today. Today, we are going to be reading a deposition that kicked off much of what we know as the Epstein files. And it is certainly not the very beginning of this story, but it was a big step. And that is the deposition of the first Jane Doe 1, Survivor 1. Again, not the first survivor, many more before her, but this was the first one to come forward to be a part of Epstein's, what eventually would become the Sweetheart deal in 2008. She came forward in 2005. She was 14 years old at the time. It was March 2005. Her parents reported with her. They had the suspicions. They talked to their child, and they reported, you know, kind of the typical Epstein sex abuse story to the police. And so I'm going to read her testimony today. I will tell you, I've not read this before. I made the decision this week not to read it ahead of time so that we're all kind of hearing it for the first time together. Not for any reason. I kind of wanted to do it with you. If you want to find this particular deposition in the files, it's part of, I believe, 3 depositions that are together. It is EFTA 027-37038. And here, I guess I'm not in Substack comments, but I can write it in the YouTube comments. 027, so EFTA 027 37038. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up and we're going to start to read. Again, there's a lot of trigger warnings with this. This is a now 16-year-old girl giving a deposition as a 16-year-old girl. This is not coming back when she's an adult. This is while she's still a child. So I'm going to start at the bottom where it says examination. Okay. And so she's being interviewed right now by Lana Belolavic, and there's also a woman named Marianne Duggar. These are assistant state attorneys for the state of Florida. And this took place on July 19th, 2006 at the Palm Beach County Courthouse. Okay, I'll begin. Mrs. Belolavic. So she says, all right, could you tell us who you are? The girl says, I'm redacted. How old are you? Redacted. 16. What's your birthday? Redacted. 1990. How old were you in February of 2005? I was 14 still. 14 or 15? I was 14 still. Well, this happened when I was 14, so... And the lawyer asked, you turned, and she says, 15 in blank or redacted of that year. And you just turned 16? Yeah. Okay. So you were just short of 15? Mm-hmm. All right. Where do you live? I live in redacted. Where do you go to school? I'm going to be starting school at redacted school. Okay. That's redacted school? Mm-hmm. Out in, and the girl replies in, and the lawyer says, go ahead. And the girl replies, redacted. Okay. Where did you go to high school in 2005? The girl says, redacted. Where is that? In redacted. On what road? And the lawyer says, long statement, redacted. The girl says, yeah, probably. What grade were you in 2005 when you were at redacted school? I was in the 9th grade. Did you know someone named Redacted? Yes. How did you know Redacted? I used to date her cousin. All right. How old's Redacted? At the time, I think she was 18 or 19. I think. And the lawyer asks, who was her cousin that you dated? And the girl says, Redacted. And the lawyer asks, was Redacted going to school at Redacted, or did you know her from outside the school? And she answers, I knew her from outside the school. How much contact did you have with Redacted? I met her the night before I went to Jeffrey's house. Okay. Tell us about the night when you met Redacted. And the girl says, I was with my boyfriend Redacted at my house, and his aunt lives like 4 streets down from mine. So we went to say hi to his aunt and stuff, and Redacted was there. And I was introduced, and the lawyer cuts her off. She said, had you met her before that night? At like a family football thing. Like they had a family get together for a football game and she was there. Okay. But I just said hi to her. All right. Like I never knew like who she was. And the lawyer says, not a lot of conversations. Yeah. Or it was just kind of like, hi, nice to meet you. The lawyer says, okay. That night you go down there, you meet her. What happens? Yeah. And then it was just kind of like a regular night, and we were hanging out, watching TV. And then like it was 11:30-ish or 10, something like that. And she was like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, nothing. And she was like, oh, well, do you want to make like $200? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then she was like, well, you're going to have to like meet my friend Jeffrey. And he lives in a big, humongous mansion. And like he lives on the water and all this stuff. And then I was like, that's really cool. And then she's like, but you have to give him a massage for like 40 minutes. And that's all you have to do. And you'll get like $200 for it. And it's really easy. And I was like, okay, like whatever. It's just a massage. And then Redacted was like, he was wondering what happened. And then we were just told him, and he was like arguing with Redacted. And then him and Redacted went to the bathroom for like a couple minutes to argue. And Redacted had like her boyfriend there. And so me and him were stuck in like the living room, watching TV, listening to them argue for a couple minutes. And then they came back. I came back out. And then we went outside, and Redacted had called Jeffrey on the phone. And Jeffrey's assistant lady, I don't remember her name, she answered the phone. And she said that she had somebody that could give Jeffrey a massage tomorrow. And the lady asked how old I was and who I was, like what my name was. But Redacted said that like I had to be 18. She told the lady I was 18 and that I went to Redacted and I was a senior and everything. And so the little assistant lady said like, okay, that's fine. Come in tomorrow. So then I went home. The lawyer cuts her off. Okay, let me stop you there. Couple things. Okay. Do you know if Redacted and Redacted were what they were arguing about? Yeah, because Redacted didn't want me to go because I guess he knew about like his cousin did that already. And the lawyer says, did that concern you that Redacted didn't want you to go and you were agreeing to go anyway? She says, well, yeah, because I was like, I guess because I was 14 and he was like 16 and stuff. And he was just like, don't go, don't go, don't go. And I was like, well, it's $200. And I was 14 and I was like, $200. So I didn't really care what he said. Okay, says the lawyer. And from listening to Redacted's end of that phone conversation, the person at Jeffrey's house was trying to verify that you were at least 18? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that a yes? Yes, sorry. Okay. And the girl says, but like after she hung up the phone with the lady, she explained to me that we went back inside the house and she explained to me that I was going to have to like tell the lady, like make up a lie about my whole life. Like that I'm graduating from Redacted already, that I'm 18 and all this stuff, and that I've known Redacted for a long time. Like just make it look like I was older. And so I agreed to do all that stuff. And then I went home for the night. And then the next morning, Redacted and another lady, like another teenage girl, I don't remember her name, she was in the truck with her. And like we were leaving my house, but my dad saw, and I told him we were going to the mall in Palm Beach. And my dad's like, okay. He didn't have a problem. And since it was Redacted or Redacted's cousin, he didn't care that I was going with Redacted. But he met, like we were leaving and my dad was coming in the office. They were like pulling into my driveway. And he saw Redacted, and Redacted asked my dad for $5 for gas. So my dad said, like, yeah, sure, $5, whatever. And then we left. And then we got to Jeffrey's house. And the lawyer says, do you know Jeffrey's full name? Jeffrey Epstein or Epstein, whatever. Where was the house? It's in Palm Beach, whatever. But then when we pull up in the driveway, nobody was there. Like Redacted, like he's not home. So we walked up anyways. We all got out of the car. And there was like a gate that you have to walk into to go to the back door. And there was like a security guard or whatever. And he has like a little office or in the back. And he saw us. So he came up to the gate and he asked us what we were there for. And Redacted said, Jeffrey. And so the guy was like, oh, okay. And he opened the gate. All three of us went in like to the back door toward the kitchen. Because I guess the kitchen's right there when you open the door. So we were sitting like in a bar like this, and we were waiting for about 15 minutes. And then Jeffrey and the assistant walked in through the back door also. And that's when I first met Jeffrey, and we shook hands. And then the lady also introduced herself too. And then the lady was talking to Redacted, and then the other girl for a couple seconds. And then Jeffrey said, who's going to go first or whatever? And Redacted and the other girl's like, I don't care. And then Jeffrey's like, how about you? Pointing to me. And I was like, okay. And then I was like looking back at Redacted and laughing. And then she was just like scooted her hand to go. She was laughing too. And I was like, okay. So then in the kitchen, it was like a little hallway, not really, but it's like a stairway to go upstairs. And we were walking up there, and the assistant lady walked me up there. And as Jeffrey was talking to them after, and then she was pointing out like all these pictures and all this stuff, and then leading me up to like a bathroom. It was like really big though, and like there was two closets. And then she went into the one closet and pulled out the massage table and set it out in front of like this couch. And then she put like a little blanket or whatever over the massage table. And then she opened up a drawer and there was like a whole bunch of different like lotions for getting massages. And she just picked like a couple of them out and just set them on the vanity table. There was a big mirror in the other wall opposite the massage table. And then she told me to get well, not undressed, but like to keep your bra and panties on. And I was like, okay. And then she said, and the lawyer says, had Redacted told you about that before? No. I thought like it was going to be a massage, like you keep your clothing on. And that when I got in the room, that's when the lady like explained that what I would have to do just to get undressed and keep my bra and my panties on. And did you do that? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes? Yes. And then to stay in the room for a couple seconds, and then Jeffrey would be coming in the room any minute. And then Jeffrey did come in the room and he said hi and he shook my hand again. But then he went out of the room and he got undressed, but he had a towel on. And then he came into the room again and laid belly down on the massage table. Excuse me. And the lawyer says, okay, stop a minute. What did this man look like, this Jeffrey Epstein? Old. How old? He looked like 50-ish maybe. Okay. 40. How was he dressed when you initially met him? Like he was going golfing. He just had like a polo t-shirt on and khaki pants. Okay. And how were you met when you first went to his so this is a sick meaning SIC meaning it's misspelled or misspoken. How were you met when you first went to when you first went to his house? And she says, I was wearing a regular t-shirt, my Hollister shirt, and just some jeans. Okay, what kind of underwear did you have on? A thong. And the bra, what type of bra? It was a bra. Okay, no special, certain type, but thong underwear. Were you comfortable getting down onto your bra and underwear? And the girl says, uh-huh. Like I was kind of hesitant. I was like sitting in the room until Jeffrey came in, like thinking like to myself, well, like what's going on? Like, I don't know. I was kind of hesitant, but then I just didn't care because I wanted $200 because I wanted to spend it. So I just didn't care. The lawyer says, okay, all right. So he comes out and he's in a towel, start from there. And she says, and then he like laid on the massage table, got on his stomach, and then he told me like to grab any of the 3 lotions that she had put down on the table. And so I just grabbed one of them. And then I just gave first I wasn't sitting on the table because I was sitting on the table because he was sitting on the table and it was kind of like I just stood up. And then I started to give him a massage. And then he's making conversation, asking me exactly what Redacted was going to tell me to do. Like what high school do you go to and all this stuff. So, and the lawyer says, did he ask you how old you were? And she says, uh-huh. And what did you tell him? I told him I was 18. And he asked me, like, what do I like to do for my spare time? And I said, I dance and all this stuff. And just asking me small talk. And then he's like, oh, well, you don't have to stand up. You can sit on the table. And so I sat on the table and I was giving him a massage. And I think the massage, it was a couple minutes, like 15 or 20 minutes. And this whole time we were just conversating about anything. And he was telling me how he had another house in New York and just a whole bunch of stuff that I was like amused by. And then after like 20 minutes of giving him a massage or 30 or something, it was around that time he asked me if I wanted to make an extra $100 and all that he'd have to use. And the lawyer stops her and says, before we get there, let me just ask you a couple things. You said that the assistant had you undress? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes? Yeah. Do you remember telling Detective Pagan that it was Jeffrey Epstein that asked you to undress? No, I'm like positive it wasn't Jeffrey because he didn't come in the room till after I was already in my underwear and my bra. Okay. So if that's in her report, that's incorrect? Yes. All right. When you talk about getting on the table, do you recall telling Detective Hagan that you were actually straddling him and you're that's what when I got on the table, like after a couple minutes, and the lawyer says, okay, and you were straddling him with your bare buttocks to his bare buttocks? And she says, yeah, well, kind of. There was a towel that, like, it was kind of covering his butt, but not really covering his butt. It was like not really covering his butt. But I was laying like on his lower back near his butt, but like I wasn't on his butt. So if she wrote, you stated you exposed your bare buttocks were your that you exposed your bare buttocks were touching his bare buttocks, that would be kind of correct. Okay. And then, yeah, I guess. All right. You could say that. And the lawyer says, so how long did that go on when you are sitting on top of him? And she says, until like the massage part was over. And then he like asked, well, would you like to make an extra $100? And then I said, sure. And then he was like, but I have to, like, you're not going to be giving the massage anymore. It's going to be something different. And I was like, well, what is it? And then he's like, can I use a vibrator on you? And I said, okay. And then, so then he got up and he went into his like other room for a couple seconds, like literally a couple seconds, and then came back in the room. And next to the little vanity, big mirror, and all this big table, there was like on the floor, there was just like the vibrator, or what it looked like a vibrator to me. What did it look like? It was like purple. And it was kind of like a massager, but not really. Like it looked like a massager, but it wasn't really a massager. And the lawyer says, what was it shaped like? And she said, like circular in the top, and then it was like a handle on the bottom. Okay, all right. And she says, and then after he grabbed that, he laid back on the table, and except this time he was on his back, and I was partially on the table, like half of my butt cheek, and my leg was on the table, and then one leg was on the floor, and like sometimes I put it on the couch, like because the couch was right there and the table was right there, and it was kind of close, so it was kind of close. And he told me to keep giving him a massage, but to give a massage on his chest. And the lawyer says, so you're sitting on the table now and he's standing up? No, no, no. He was laying back on the table, but like I was kind of on the table. Like half my butt and my leg was on the table, and the other half was like on the couch. Like I was holding, and the lawyer says, okay, but he's lying down. He's laying down. Uh-huh. Okay. And then I was giving a massage on his chest, and he was still talking for a couple minutes. And then he used the vibrator, and like that was for like 10 minutes maybe or so, I think. And then now says the lawyer, I have to be detailed here. Where was he using the vibrator? And the girl says, can I say along my vagina? Okay. I don't know what else to say. All right, go ahead. Okay. And then after, for a couple minutes, that's what he was doing. And then he jerked off for like a couple minutes. Like I was still on the table, and Redacted told me that if he does that, then you have to get more money, because that's like he gives you extra money if he jerks off anyways. Because I guess it's like his, and this is indiscernible, meaning they didn't know what she said or whatever. And the lawyer says, and Redacted had told you that before? And the girl says, mm-hmm. She told me that like the night that I like had this whole conversation with her, and she told me about it. Okay. So she just didn't tell you were going for a massage. She told you that you might have to take your clothes off? No. She didn't tell me that I would had to take my clothes off, but she said that if he jerks off in front of you, then you could get more money. Okay. So when he offered you the extra $100, you had a pretty good idea what was coming next? Yeah. Okay. And the lawyer says, and when you say jerked off, what do you mean? He put his hand on his penis and he started going up and down kind of fast. Okay. Could you see his penis at that point? Uh-huh. Is that a yes? Yes. All right, go ahead. Then went on for how long? A couple seconds, maybe, like, yeah, like 40 seconds. And then after that, like, the massage was over. And he went out of the door, back to wherever he goes. I couldn't see where he was going because the door was this way and he walked out. And I guess he had like his money went behind the door, his money behind the door, because it only took a couple of seconds. Make sure I'm on the same page. It only took a couple of seconds for him to come back into the room. And then he opened his money, like his wad, and he gave me $300 bills and told me thank you. And then he's like, there was a notepad there next to the couch, and he told me to write my name and my number because I had a cell phone at the time. And he told me to write my cell phone number down and now how he could get a hold of me and all this stuff. So I wrote my number down, I wrote my name, and then after that, he just left the room and told me I could get dressed again and that it was done. I was over. Did you actually see him ejaculate? No. Okay. Did he not ejaculate or you didn't see it? If he did, I didn't see it. I didn't see. Okay. Do you recall telling Detective Pagan it happened in a different sequence? No. And that he masturbated first before he put the vibrator on your vagina? Maybe. This was like 2.5 years ago, so okay. That could have happened. Do you recall not telling her about the vibrator at all? Yeah. The first time you talked to her? Yeah, I remember that. Because I was scared. Okay. Why were you scared about that and not scared about telling her that he ejaculated in front of you or masturbated in front of you? Because that's his body and the vibrator's on my body. The lawyer says, so you didn't want to admit that you had allowed him to touch you? Yeah. Okay. And he gave you $300? Uh-huh. And left your number. You left your number so he could contact you again? Yes. Okay. When he left the room, what happened? You got dressed? Did he take you downstairs? You go downstairs by yourself? And the girl says, I just went downstairs by myself. Who was down there? Was Redacted still down there? Uh-huh. The Redacted was there, and the other girl was there, and the assistant lady, she might have been there, but I don't know. I can't remember. But then after that, we left. Like, they didn't do anything. She got money, but she didn't do anything. Who? Who is she? Oh, sorry, Redacted. Who? Who is she? And the girl says, Redacted did. The lawyer says, okay. Do you know how much money Redacted got? I think it was $300 too. Okay. Or maybe 200, 300. Do you know what that was for? No. At the time, I thought maybe she did something with somebody else in the house. Oh, you know, I think I forgot. There you go. Sorry. So we're about not quite halfway down the page. So I'll start that part again. That first paragraph with A, the answer for the girl. No, at the time I thought maybe she did something with somebody else in the house. But then I was like thinking there was only Jeffrey and the lady there. Like I didn't think anything of it. But did you learn that she got money for bringing you there? Yeah, I kind of figured that when I got back home. Like I was thinking about it for a while and I realized, well, it's probably because she brought me. Okay. Did you discuss with Redacted what happened in that room? Yes. Then when we got in the back in her truck, at first we were all like, oh, let's go spend our money. Then she was like, oh, what happened? What did you do? How much money did you get? And I was like, I got $300. And I was like, I was excited, $300. And then she was like, you got 300? What did you have to do with him? And then I told him, or her what I did. And then she was like, oh yeah, I've done that too, blah, blah. And like then she told me like what, like if you do this, you get that. If you do this and then get that. And she was telling me like all this stuff. And then I was like laughing about it because I was like, yeah, thanks, for telling me that I'd have to get in my bra. And she was like, oh, sorry. And she's laughing. And then the other girl starts laughing too. And then we all laughed together. And then we went to TJ Maxx and she got a purse and I didn't spend any of my money. I kept it I wanted to spend it, but I didn't want to spend it at TJ Maxx. I wanted to go to the mall or something. So then I kept it in my house, like my purse and stuff. And the lawyer says, let me stop you there. When you're in the car back with Redacted, going back, did you and Redacted discuss doing this again so you could earn more money? Yeah. Okay, I think. And the girl says, we didn't plan any certain date. She was just like, we didn't plan this, or again, we didn't plan it. I was just like, she was like, oh, well, if you ever need money again, you can always call me and you can come with me. And I said, okay. You don't recall telling Detective Pagan that you made plans to do this every Saturday so you could get rich? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't like a plan. It was kind of like an imaginary kind of every Saturday, oh, okay. It wasn't for sure. Did you go back to Jeffrey Epstein's house to give him other massages? I did not. Okay. When I was on the phone with the detectives, we pretended for Redacted because she was on the other line. We pretended that I was going to go back, but just so she could say something, but I never did. Okay, so you did a controlled phone call with Redacted? Uh-huh. Trying to get her to make admissions? Yes. Is that a yes? Yeah. Okay. All right. Was there another reason you sort of didn't go back? That some people might have found out about it or were talking about you? Yeah. That's what I was going to get to. At school, I had my best friend, and I told her in dance class, because that's my first period and that's my first period class. And right when I got back to school, I had the $300 in my purse with me. And I told her, if you ever want to make $300, you can come with me and Redacted will take you. And I didn't say her name. I said, my friend will take you. And all you have to do is give him a massage and stuff. And I told her what I did. I didn't tell her everything. I didn't tell her the vibrator part. I just left that out. But I told her everything else. And she kind of laughed and giggled, and she was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. And then and the lawyer says, who is this person that you told? And she says, Redacted and Redacted. Well, she was in the conversation, but she's didn't say anything to anybody. And the lawyer says, Redacted, and the girl says, Redacted. She didn't say anything at first until everybody else found out. And then, well, after I told Redacted, the rest of the day goes by. She was telling, oops, sorry guys, people and telling everybody in school. And then I was I saw her in my gym class that same day, and I just confronted her. I was like, well, why are you telling people? And that's kind of my business. And I kind of told you to be nice and not to go around telling people. You're supposed to be my best friend. And then she just laughed about it. So then we got in an altercation in the gym room. Was that a fight? Yes. You had a fight? We got into a fight, and that's when I had to go to the principal's office. And Redacted told why she got in the fight with me, and I told her why we got into the fight. And at first we both kind of lied about why, or I did. And then I was just told the principal she was spreading rumors about me. And then Redacted, I guess, told the principal why, for real. And so then the principal, when I had to go into the room, she was like, let me see in your purse. And I said, why? And she was like, asked me if I had any money. And I said, no, I don't have any money on me. And then she said, you don't have to lie. You're not going to be in trouble. Give me your purse. And then I gave her my purse, and she found the $300, and she asked me how I got it. And I say, I work at Redacted, because at that time I really did work at Redacted. And the lawyer says, why did you lie to the assistant principal? Because I didn't think it was any of her business, why we were arguing or anything. And I thought, why would I tell on myself if she doesn't really know anything yet? But then she really did know, because Redacted told her. And then after she took my purse and she looked at the $300, and she didn't believe what I said, at all. And I just kept lying and saying, no, I got it from Redacted. My work. And then she said, you don't have to lie. I know what happened. And she called my stepmom, and my stepmom came to the school, and my stepmom said, you didn't get that $300 from your paycheck. You're lying. And then that's when I don't know, everything kind of came out. And then and the lawyer says, you didn't tell your parents at first, so did you lie to them too? And the girl says, I said I was doing drugs and I was dealing them. Like I made up any kind of lie. I didn't want to tell him what happened. Did there come a time when Detective Pegging got some messages on your phone? And the girl says, from, and the lawyer says, from redacted. And the girl says, redacted. Yeah, well, after that whole thing, my cell phone was taken away. So yeah, she had my cell phone from that day until I moved to redacted. And she, like my mom, I think she still has it, or the court or whatever has my cell phone. And the lawyer says, you talked about telling your mom you were doing drugs or selling drugs? Yeah, which one? Just both. My dad's arguing with me and I just kind of told him, well, I'm a drug dealer. Okay, so you've had problems with drugs though, haven't you? I did, not a problem. I experimented. Didn't your parents actually send you away to a rehabilitation center because of it? To a family help center. Okay, to be specific or whatever. It was because of that, but it was also because I had a lot of family like getting along problems. Like I argued with my parents a lot. Were you doing drugs during the time that you went to Jeffrey Epstein's house? No. Well, the only drug. Oops. Did I forget? Hold on. There you go. That I did at that time was pot. Like I smoked it sometimes. I didn't do like drugs, like bad kind of drugs. Do you still do pot? No. Do you have a MySpace.com account? Yes, I have a MySpace. On there, you talk about doing drugs? No, I don't talk about it. There's like a little thing where it says create like your own thingy, and it asks questions like a survey. That's the word I'm looking for. A survey about like they just ask questions and it says, have you ever done drugs? And I said, yeah. It says, have you ever done drugs? And the lawyer says, okay. It asks a lot of questions about you, right? Yes. But I also did delete that on MySpace and I did a good one. Okay. I delete because my parents found out. And the lawyer says, so you had one that wasn't real good? Yes. That you lied about? That you lied about your age on, said you were 18 on? No, I didn't say I was 18. This your account? She's pulling up a MySpace account. No. Here with redacted? Female, 18 years old, lives in redacted. And she says, yes, but I didn't do this one. All mine have like cool things in the back. Like mine, I would never make an ugly one. And the lawyer says, redacted do have more fun. And the girl says, yeah. And the lawyer says, you're a redacted? And the girl says, yeah, and I have that X, like those exact same things on my old one. It had like not in what it says about me in that little sentence. Okay, I didn't make that. So when you're talking about that survey you answered, it says your choice of alcohol and you put beer? Yeah. Do you drink beer? At parties. Okay. It says you have 4 piercings. Not anymore. Now I used to have my belly button pierced. The lawyer says you have to be 18 in the state of Florida to have body piercings other than your ears. My dad, how did you get those? My dad took me to get my belly button pierced for my 14th birthday because like everybody was getting one, so I begged for it. And then I just got my nose pierced. So the lawyer says, did you have to provide identification for your nose just to prove you were 18? No, my dad let me. Your dad, okay. So you didn't have false identification at the time? No. Okay. So you said yes to drinking and smoking. Smoking pot? Yeah. There's a question. Do you shoplift? Do you recall what you put for that? You did. What? Did you shoplift? Yeah, a couple of times. Did you recall putting lots of times on your site? Maybe. This was a long time ago. So, okay, you reported income of $250,000. That's a joke on that site. Yeah, it was a joke. Like all my friends do that because it's kind of funny and random and stupid. Okay. So it's not that you're making money elsewhere. No, doing similar activity? It was kind of stupid. It was like a joke. Okay. Did you ever make arrangements with Redacted to go back to Jeffrey Epstein's house in April of 2005? Not when I was with her. Maybe on a phone conversation. like with that detective, but not ever when I was with her. Did you ever talk to Redacted about going back in April of 2005? I really don't think so. Okay. All right. At this point, I'm going to ask the grand jurors if they have any questions for you. Okay. Okay. A juror asks, where do you live now? And the girl says, I live in Redacted. The juror says, where? Redacted. And the juror says, did you say that before you lived up in Redacted? And the girl says, yes, I moved to Redacted in July with my mother. One of the lawyers, Belilovic, says, your mother, your stepmother, and father sent you up there to get away from the activities down here? And the girl says, no, I moved with my mom. When I was with my dad, like after this all happened, my mom and my dad were arguing. I didn't like my dad anymore. I just felt like living back with my mom. So then I moved with my mom, and that's when I went to the family center. Like Redacted is what it's called. And then after that, my mom had planned on moving to Redacted. She's been planning for like 2 years before any of this happened. And then finally found a house in Redacted. So we moved and I moved with them. Do you have any idea, says the juror, do you have any idea deep down inside of you that what you're doing is wrong? And the girl says, yeah, I did. And the juror says, oh, do you? Have you? The witness says, oh, and the juror says, have you set the goals to not do this anymore? And the witness says, yes. I haven't talked to any of those people since that day. And the juror says, and you're well aware that what you're doing to your own reputation. Yes, I do. The lawyer says, you're aware that you committed a crime? The witness says, now I am. I didn't know it was a crime when I was doing it. Like, I don't know. Now I guess it's prostitution or something like that. And the lawyer says, any other questions? A juror says, one more. You said you worked at Redacted. You were 14. You were working at Redacted? And the girl says, yeah, in Redacted. That's when they first let you work when you're 14. The juror says, okay, now you're living back now with your father in the meantime? And the girl gives no audible response. The lawyer says, anybody else in the front row? The second row, yes, sir. The juror says, you kept saying Jeffrey's assistant. Do you know her name? The girl says, no. I know that she was blonde-haired. She was tall and skinny. I don't remember her name. The juror says, okay. The lawyer says, yes, sir, in the back row. The juror says, yes. Miss Redacted, did you ever go back to Mr. Epstein's on your own? No, sir, I didn't. Did he ever contact you with your cell phone? He never called you? No, because I got my phone taken away. The juror says, did you? The witness says, right when I was in trouble. Juror says, did you ever feel that this behavior was a little strange? That's what we all joked about in the car. Yeah, but did it ever occur to you that he could have hacked you up? Now I think about it, and a lot of things could have happened. I thought about it a lot. And the juror says, should it give it a little further thought? The witness says, meaning the girl, different things could have happened. The lawyer says, any other questions for Miss Redacted? All right, thank you very much. The girl says, thank you, and the witness is excused. All right, hopefully I didn't mess this up, and this is still being recorded. My takeaway from this is very interesting, knowing now what we know. So here, let me pull myself up here, sorry. Knowing now what we know about this entire investigation and the idea of Me Too and the narratives that we know about women and rape, even in this witness testimony by the prosecution, the people who are going after Jeffrey Epstein, even in this, I still hear a lot of blame that they're putting on this girl who is a child. They were asking her about what she was wearing, and I get that they're, they want to verify things that she was actually wearing based on events. It did feel a little bit like, what were you wearing? Didn't you feel bad for the things you did? Don't you know that that's a bad, that could hurt you, or that's a bad situation? It just felt like she obviously didn't understand the gravity of it, being as young as she is. But it also, the voice of the people who are interviewing her felt a little condemning to me, to be honest. And again, I'm reading this for the very first time. That was not, I did not read that before we got together tonight. So not my favorite version of asking a child who has been sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein. But anyway, that was the witness testimony of Jane Doe 1. She was 16 years old. She was 14 when she was, abused by Jeffrey Epstein just the one time. And, much, I guess, luckier than a lot of other girls that her parents found out about it, her school found out about it, and they stepped in. And it only happened supposedly the one time to her. So I don't know if they followed up with any of the other girls who were there. I guess they were over 18, so maybe that was a different scenario. But what this led to was 35 other underage girls coming forward to accuse Jeffrey Epstein of the same things. And then he obviously went to trial for that. And his trial was a sham. It was a sham by the prosecution. It was a sham by the defense. And he was supposed to be given 18 months in jail, not prison, but jail in Palm Beach. And in so doing, he was given 12 months. And also he was given 12 hours a day of work release. So he could leave the jail Monday through Saturday for 12 hours to go to his office, which he said he was working for the Florida Science Foundation. We now know that he was still abusing girls during this time. I believe that he didn't always come back after the 12 hours, and nobody ever followed up on that, because I know later on when he was on probation, because he had a year of house arrest, he never went to go see his probation officer a single time in 18 months. He was supposed to go every 90 days, never went a single time. They didn't care. They didn't follow up. So I believe that he probably left Palm Beach during the time that he was supposed to be in jail. I don't know that for sure. But even when he was at the jail, even when he was at the jail, he had kind of like a wing of the jail that was supposed to be for the attorneys that they let him work in. He didn't have a locked cell. They kept his door of his cell unlocked. He got to work in the attorneys' work. They had computers down there, TVs, everything. So he had kind of a cushy version of what it could have been like. And then when he was outside the jail and he was at the Florida Science Foundation, that was neither a foundation nor was it scientific. He actually hired the guards from the jail to work for him to the tune of over $100,000 during that period of time. So, and there was a guest book in his office during the time when he was in jail and going out on work release. There was a guest book, and after he served his time, the guest book was destroyed, which I find very interesting. And I believe that was tasked to the guards from the jail who worked for the Palm Beach Police Department. All very interesting, all more threads to follow up on. Many, 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 many more threads. The interesting thing about that sweetheart deal, 36 girls, they called it prostituting a minor, which is ridiculous because a minor cannot be a prostitute. When that happened and that decision was made and he was sentenced, the girls were not told beforehand. They learned in the press the terms of his incarceration and that he only had 2 indictments against him at the end. They didn't get to learn that until afterwards. So there were 36 underage accusers at this time. Again, it's a very different situation than 2019 when he's arrested again. Like, he's not famous. There's a little bit of he's in some of these magazines as a bachelor billionaire or whatever. He's not famous. He's not well known outside of the circles. These girls would not have known who he was. So for them to have all come forward and accuse him of the same things meant that it was prolific. And they didn't actually know, they didn't know who he was, right? He was just an old rich guy in Palm Beach. And that gives a lot of credibility to what they're saying. So again, He was out 13 months later, supposed to be on house arrest. House arrest is ridiculous for him anyway, because it included all of his properties. Well, he had a property in New Mexico, New York, Palm Beach, the Virgin Islands, Paris, London. Like he could go to any one of those, and that was considered house arrest. So he did. He bounced back and forth to all of them. There are girls who have reported being abused by him while he had an ankle monitor on. It's just overwhelmingly bad. So anyway, okay. I'm gonna go make sure this actually recorded. I appreciate whoever saw this tonight. I appreciate you joining me. And we will do another one of these on Friday night. The next one I'm going to do is a woman named Maritza Vasquez, who is Jean-Luc Brunel's bookkeeper. And I went over this with Carly P. Riley today. If you don't know Carly P. Riley, she's fantastic. You should follow her on YouTube and on Substack. This is a deposition that feels a little bit like it was missed by the DOJ. It is so chock full of names and accusations, and this woman really has no dog in the fight. Like the things she's saying, she's not saying out of malice. She's not saying to protect herself. She just doesn't realize the gravity of the information she has, and so she's willing to share it with authorities. It is a really intense deposition. It is shocking. I was up way too late reading it last night, so I'm going to read that on Friday. I am going to go through and redact names out of it because the DOJ did not do that. It left in all the names of the 13-year-old models and 14-year-old models who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein. Didn't bother to black them out, so I will be doing that myself. So join me again Friday night, 9 p.m. I will figure out the Substack since I screwed it up tonight. Maybe I'll just go do this on Substack again, and we'll just see you later. Oh wait, I have a private message. Oh, thanks, Nick. So good job. Thanks, Nick. Nick Paro is always my helper guy. Okay, you can find me on Substack at The Panicked Writer. I'm on YouTube at The Panicked Writer. I'm every other platform, good or bad. I'm under Red Pencil Script. And I'm going to continue to do these in order to make more awareness about the Epstein files, what's in them. I will try to figure out ways that we can donate to things that matter in this process. Again, we have Virginia Giuffre's Foundation, SOAR, up in the corner. I don't think it has donations set up yet, but I did want to bring awareness to that. The next one I will have the Bookmobile bus, the Bookmobile widget for raising money for the Epstein Trump Reading Room Bookmobile, which is traveling around the country. And hopefully we can, pay it forward somewhere along the way with what we're doing. So, okay, I love you all. I will see you on Friday.